catch you up because I know a lot of followers aren't in the support group. So we finished step 2 in brain lock, reattribute, unlocking your brain. There's 4 steps in brain lock: relabel, reattribute, refocus, and revalue. And I'll just go through my highlights because we're having a lot of fun with this. I'm learning a lot as well. And he answers one of the questions right off the bat. He goes, why don't intrusive thoughts go away? Like, why do they persist? And so he answers, they persist because you have OCD. And it's demonstrated to be a biochemical imbalance. So it's a part of your brain that's just like, it's the gear shift. It's not, it's stuck in gear. And the sticky thoughts and urges are due to the bulky brain. And he promises if you can use your mind's own power to change the chemistry in your brain, you don't need to do neurosurgery. One of my previous support groups, someone was obsessed with the idea of doing some kind of neurosurgery. And he says here, you don't need to do neurosurgery. He says you can do it with your mind. And the intrusive thoughts keep bothering you because you've got a glitch in your brain. And like there's a filtering thing that's off. So you can react inappropriately to things that you know make no sense. So he talks about like reattributing. Hobbies are really good. So I started playing soccer. I actually just got a pink soccer ball because I thought it was funny. And he talks about doing something else is really helpful. So I run around with a soccer ball, and he talks about like OCD. You can make a difference. It's not your will. It's not you. It doesn't take over your spirit. You're still intact. And you can make conscious decisions in response to the pain. Like it's just a false alarm, and it's just a short circuit. So you can do he talks about saying it's not me, it's OCD. So, and the idea of like, if you can wait 15 minutes, like, it's freaking really hard to wait 15 minutes. But that's supposed to really help. I don't really succeed with that. And he talks about, look, you're not going to do your intrusive thought. It's not the real you. And I think most of us get really tripped up. Like, am I evil because I have gotten an intrusive thought? It's not like a hidden wish fulfillment. So he talks about how OCD can mimic the feeling of reality, but reality never mimics OCD. And he's got a really cool headline where he goes, "This is war." And it certainly feels like war. And he talks about building a powerful defense system against the enemy, and he calls the enemy OCD. And he then talks about one of his patients had like a chronic self-esteem problem connected to OCD, and it's pretty, it hurts. Oh, hey, Juan. It hurts to read about it because like this is all of us, like it's so easy to be, upset at yourself just because it's harder for you to leave on time, or it's harder for you to just move on to another thought. So he talks about checking things mindfully and then being able to just leave, if you're dealing with checking and things like that. And the idea, and I do this, where you can use compulsions to avoid something. So I recently bought, shin pads to play soccer, and I was just like ruminating about whether they're the right ones. And he mentions bad habits make a groove in your brain, and then you're just freaking stuck in the groove. So the idea is you can change from pathological to healthy behavior, and in so doing, actually change your own brain chemistry. Oh, thanks, Millie. I appreciate it. That's really nice. And he talks about, look, okay, so there's an orbital cortex. He goes into like the science of it. You can read it if you want. And it's just right around here overheats. And then that's our issue. And it's like a gear shift that we can actually fix by doing things. And that the more automatic a behavior is, the less energy the cortex will take to use it. So he talks about different brain scans between healthy brains and brains with OCD. And he talks about, illnesses that can't be healed. Like, we're super lucky. Like, we can heal ourselves with OCD. We can actually make it so that we're healthier after. Like, we can deal with more uncertainty after. And by changing your behavior, you can change your brain. So he talks about if you change your behavioral responses to the false messages you will change your brain circuits that cause OCD, which will lead to an improvement in your symptoms. So he talks about, look, OCD is a largely fixable problem. I mean, it feels impossible. Obviously, like, we have so much emotional pain. Most of us are on, pharmaceutical drugs that are extremely powerful, and more than one of them. And he talks about the more compulsions you do, the more rigidly we get stuck in gear. And it's hard work because we're stuck in gear. But the more we kind of shift it, the more we do treatment, the easier it gets, and the better we get at it. So it's weird. I thought, like, there's like 1% of us that have OCD. I thought we were like in a massive minority, but he talks about 1%, no, 1 person in 40 in the general population has OCD. Like 1 in 40 is way more than I thought. I think the problem is everyone just thinks OCD is like keeping tidy, and not like intrusive thoughts and like harm, or like, false urges, and trying to find certainty in past events and stuff like that. Anyway, he talks about, look, OCD is a psychiatric condition, and a successful intervention changes your brain function. Like, and they've documented it. And when people do obsessive behaviors in a vain effort to buy a little peace, they're just making brain lock worse. And he's got a mini chapter called Keeping the Faith. And what you should pray for is not that the symptoms will go away, like they probably won't, but that you could have the strength to fight. And it's really good to know. And then there's a tendency to become demoralized and hate yourself. And that is like exactly where you don't want to be. And it's almost impossible to fight it if you're bogged down with, self-hatred. I'm really going through these notes here. I'm not even sure where I am now. Anyway, that's most of step 2. So that's what we did in support group this week. We're having a lot of fun in there. And if you want to join, by all means, join the Facebook group. The link's in the bio. It's every Friday. I had a little bit more highlights, but we'll save them for next time. We're going to be reading the first bit of step 3. And thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon, and hopefully see you in the Facebook group. Goodbye.